It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
Hey, it's 10 a.m. and this is Utah's best sports radio.
Say my name.
You're locked on to Scotty G and the coach, Tim LaComb, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome in on a Friday. Scotty G taking a little bit of a long weekend. David James filling in for the start of the show here, along with the coach, Tim LaComb, and a little birthday music because somebody's having a birthday today, Tim LaComb.
Yeah, who is that somebody?
What kind of cake do you go for? When the wife asks, what's the birthday cake, what do you choose?
I'm so old, we don't even do cake anymore, dude.
No, you've got grandkids. Do the cake. Only have a bite or two for yourself. I get that. But come on now. You got to
I'm an almond or vanilla. I'm pretty straightforward, bro.
Wow. Okay.
You don't deviate much from just about center point for me.
German chocolate. Check.
No.
Carrot cake. Check.
I like carrot cake. I do like carrot cake.
Yeah, carrot cake's good.
That sounds awful.
Why?
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of carrot cake.
You've never had carrot cake?
No, I've had it. Not a fan.
And you don't like it? Oh, interesting. Well, I'll take your piece then. That's good.
No, we'll go almond today because you're here too, and you're down the line. I mean, you're DJ. Who doesn't know DJ?
All right, we have many topics to hit, Tim, and we've got to get to the NBA playoffs. The Utah Jazz, John Wilner, or as PK calls him, the Hammer, from the San Jose Mercury News, and you're at KSL.com. He will be here to talk about money and college athletics at 11 o'clock. But let us start first with Ron McBride. Ron was in studio with DJ and PK Thursday morning. He's got a concert coming up at the State Fair Park with the Head and the Heart. $50 tickets available at his website, ronmcbridefoundation.org. And he was talking about, we had him in as part of the spring football tour in addition to talking about his concert, and he's raising money for after-school programs. And we ran him through the local schools, and his take on the Aggies, just let Bronco be Bronco. Bronco has been doing it a long time. You know what you're going to get with Bronco, and it ranges usually between pretty good and very good. So just let Bronco be Bronco and don't get in the way. And then at the U, he thought, well, the D-line, that was his big question mark, is how good is the D-line? He thought there's one good edge rusher, one or two tackles he really likes, but usually you want more players than that, and he thinks some players that have to develop, will they or won't they? That's the thing to watch. And obviously they got the returning quarterbacks, they got the returning running back. I think they probably rebuild the O-line. We got a hint of that in the bowl game because the guys who are head of the NFL don't want to play in the bowl game. So you already could start to see the transition, and it looked really good against Nebraska. So it has to be done, but it probably gets done. And then he got to BYU, and very complimentary of their team speed. Thought they did a good job of keeping the team together for multiple reasons. And then he got to what can only be described as effusive praise of Bear Bachmeier.
I've seen all these first-round draft choices in person, the ones at SC and other schools, and I've watched them in practice. And this kid is, in my opinion, is better than all of them. I mean, he's a special – the Bachmeier kid is a special player, and I think he's in a league by himself.
All right, that surprised me right there. I have talked to, we've seen BYU people talk on camera and on the record, and have had a chance to have some off-the-record communication with them as well, and so have other people on the staff. PK certainly has, Yak has, you probably have, Tim, as someone who worked down there. You can crack the code.
Yeah, I know the entry points.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
And so they're very positive about him, both publicly and privately, and they were from the get-go. They've never really – now, I haven't heard them project out, and I got to say that surprises me. He's played 14 games last year, and we didn't hear that from other people. Now, maybe he's progressed a bit, and maybe the Big 12 is just off the radar enough. We should have heard more about him, and we didn't. But the general take that he's good and going to get better, yes. That he's better than NFL first-round draft picks, I got to say, Mac's the first one I've heard say that, although I've never asked around about it either. I mean, it's at least a couple years away, so that hadn't come to the forefront yet. So it surprised me. What do you think?
Yeah, so I definitely, I was driving around and I heard that yesterday live, and, it struck me too, because the one thing I definitely respect is the eye of a veteran coach. And, Mac's got a great eye. And the thing that you have to take into account is the kid did what he did last year. I mean, nobody was even talking about him. He transfers in quietly and, with all of the drama, ends up taking the spot and then does what he did last year. I mean, I think the bottom line is his makeup is right, for a quarterback. He's a guy who he can take a hit, he can extend a play. What I want to see more this year, DJ, is him throwing down the field. 11% of his throws were deep throws, and that was like 115th nationally. So I think to add to what he's done, which is, hey, I think he can run a team. I think he can run a winning team. But I think for him, that Texas Tech game, they really could use the ability to kind of throw down the field a little bit in other games as well. And I think that's the step I'm excited to see him make this year, hopefully, is to complete some more of those and throw some more of those.
I love me a good stat, and I love that you just threw that stat out, Tim. But now I got to shoot it down.
Well,
he's not out
sitting
there.
Here. Shoot it down.
Okay, he's not out there just auditioning for NFL people and fulfilling the stat wishes of people in the media like you and me, as much as I would like that. They went 11-1, so the way the plays were called and the choices they made were really good. And the one game they lost, and eventually they went 12-2, obviously, but just focusing on the 12 games you schedule and you can control. But going to even 14-12-2, they only lost to one team, and it was Texas Tech twice. And they could not block Texas Tech.
Right.
And so there's no chance to throw the ball down the field. And the other 12 games, they didn't really need to throw the ball down the field.
Right. No, I get it.
Maybe
but
there
I'm
will
just
be more.
I'm just talking about his progression, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, scouts want to see it. It's not just a you thing. NFL scouts are going to want to see it too, and they'll have questions about why didn't you do it. And they have access. I mean, it's not that we don't have access to Kalani and to A-Rod because they're pretty available. I mean, Kalani lets his coordinators talk every week, and lots of schools don't do that. And so I'm grateful they do. Anything you can do to pull the curtain back for the fans, and I mean, you're pulling it back for the media, but then the media talk to the fans. So I feel like they're not pulling it back for us. They're pulling it back for the fans. Is great, and I'm glad they do it. And I didn't really hear anybody else go down this road with A-Rod. Maybe now we will. But A-Rod's about, what's great is winning the game.
No,
that's
right.
what's great.
Yeah.
One
that's
more
what
point
Morgan
than the
said
other guys.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Morgan said that when we were talking about, because I brought up Kevin McGivern, and Kevin McGivern has a penchant to throw that ball around.
Right.
And so I brought it up, and he's like, we want to still be balanced. We still want to be attacking, whether it's throwing the ball, running the ball. And that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for a balanced approach that you can keep the other team guessing. They got to put somebody up. You run the ball well, they got to put more people in the box, and it gives you the ability to throw it.
Yep. Well, A-Rod does like to throw the ball down the field. I've heard plenty of people say that over the time he's been calling plays at Utah and BYU. And then if he doesn't one year, it's like, well, do the receivers have the speed to go get it? Can you block long enough to give the quarterback a chance to throw it? Do you need to? Or are you protecting a lead and trying to shorten a game? There's a lot of things that go into it. And then no matter what he calls, then the players, they got to execute it. A guy's in open, somebody comes free. Even if you call it, it doesn't mean it happens.
Here's another stat for you to consider.
Oh, boy.
You shot my first one down.
All right, here we go.
All right. And we're talking not look, I'm all about BYU winning games. And you got to win games the way you win games. So this is just, talking about his development down the road. But when he tried to stretch the defense beyond 20 yards, that's where the drop-off came. And it was actually between the numbers, he was 11 for 20. So middle of the field, down the field, 20 yards, he was 11 for 20.
Okay.
Outside the numbers, he was 2 for 23 on throws outside the numbers, and only 4 of those 23 were accurate throws. So, I mean, to me, that's like the next step for him, is to be able to consistently step back there when needed and deliver that ball.
11 for 20, I don't mind that at all. 55%.
No, that's in the middle of the field, right? Right.
Yeah,
so
but
that's in the middle of the field.
You're down the field, your completion. In the end, you want your quarterback to be at 65%, maybe 70 or closer to 70, depending on the team and the offense. But you got to factor in there's a lot of short, quick throws to tight ends, to backs out of the backfield where your completion rate ought to be a lot higher. So if you're 20-plus yards, and 11, I can live with that. But, boy, those outside the numbers, give the outside the –
Outside the numbers, he was 2 for 23. And only on those 23 passes, only 4 of them were considered accurate catchable passes.
I don't want to get into geometry, but if you're throwing the ball 20 yards downfield and outside the numbers, now depending on where he's standing, that could be a 40 or 50-yard pass.
Hey,
so I expect the numbers to drop, but I do not expect to drop that far. You're right.
Correct.
There needs to be improvement there.
So those were just numbers that jumped out when I did a little bit of research, knowing, and I heard that yesterday. But the bottom, I think what Mac is saying is this kid he's wise above his years.
Yep.
I think his ability to, because part of being a quarterback is getting buy-in from all those guys and getting the respect from those guys, and I think he certainly has that. He took BYU on. Nobody was expecting what he did last year, and so the cool part about it, and Max saw it yesterday. It seems as though he's growing. That's great news for BYU, particularly when the team you're fighting for the conference title against, their guys, not going to be there because he made like 47,000 bets or something.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
That is a crazy
story. And it's a whole nother story. But it opens up, BYU's right there.
It might open it up. When does Will Hammond get healthy, and how much of a step forward does he take as a sophomore? Because he showed some stuff as a freshman. He showed it intermittently, which he's a freshman. That's fine. And obviously he was very good against Utah, and then you can look at his stats, and that's not what he did every time he was given an opportunity. Certainly there is a world in which they start Will Hammond and Texas Tech wins the Big 12 title again. But to your point, there's also a world where Will Hammond can't start, or he does start and they're not good enough, and BYU or somebody else wins. Maybe Utah, maybe Houston. We could go down the line. When you consider what happened 2 years ago with Arizona State, you could go way down the line.
Yeah, that's true.
You could go.
Yeah,
you could go to Baylor or
K-State. That's NIL, right? A little bit. Somebody has just the right combination of guys.
Yeah. Rich Rod's back in the portal with another 100 players or whatever it is. So who's to say that they don't come from way up the track like the Kentucky Derby champ, who doesn't want to run in the Preakness, but that's another story.
And we do have John Wilner on at 11, so we can get into a lot of different football topics. I mean, that dude, Pac-12 forever, so his life's changed a little the last couple of years.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. His topic, I don't know that he's that deep into the rosters, across all these leagues, but I do think he's way deep into how they're going to govern college sports going forward. And I've been reading a story this morning. It's a Sports Business Journal, and there are quotes in it, Tim, and they're the kind of quotes that make me think of you.
Well, thank you.
You were hip deep in basketball in an era where clearly there were people, some of whom you competed directly with, some it was maybe a little more indirect, who were paying players.
Everybody was paying players.
Everybody knew what the rules were, right?
Right.
Here's one Power 4 administrator. Could the CSC, which is this new enforcement thing they've got going, could they set up an enforcement mechanism earlier and better? Sure. But the same schools who claimed they wanted to be governed refused to sign the participation agreement. They don't want it. Nobody wants rules. And then how about this one? Don't listen for 1 minute to the people complaining about the CSC. It's the same thing as the NCAA. We blame the NCAA, but that's us. The NCAA is us. We're the idiots. That is some truth-telling by an unnamed administrator. The NCAA is a collection of schools. Don't pretend like it's those people over there. And the fact is, people don't want to be governed. They don't want to have rules. If the rules are going to keep them from winning and get them fired. If they're going to get fired, then break the rules or don't sign the participation agreement in the first place and win and keep your job. And that is one of the big differences left between the pros and the college. The pros, they don't really cheat on the salary cap. They don't do it.
Well, if you cheat on the salary cap, you will be
You'll be caught. You'll be busted. You'll be
caught.
fined.
You'll be busted. You'll be
And-
the aspiration.
Yeah.
You know, we're waiting to see what happens with the aspiration and our guy Kawhi Leonard, the circumvention.
Yes,
that they
that's
were
such
trying.
a rare case, and it seems to me completely obvious that they're guilty. And they're arguing, and they got lawyers, and they'll keep talking until they win. Maybe. I don't think they should, and it looks to me like they were guilty.
You know, DJ, we had Al Jensen on a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yep.
And, you know, in the conversation, we were talking about, you know, the things you can and can't do. And he's like, I don't, there really is no, you just kind of have to do it. You know, he's like.
The can't do has gotten shorter or invisible, huh?
Yeah. I mean, he just said there really is no, I mean, when I was there was a book about as thick as a phone book.
Yeah.
You know.
What's a phone book, Coach?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, basically, it's just a big spreadsheet with numbers on it in a book that you would look up people, you know, back in the day. You'd say, David James, I'm going to look him up and see where he lives and what his phone number is.
Yeah.
But David was smart because he probably unlisted that thing as a celeb. Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course he did.
Of course I did.
I'm a man of the people. I'm right there. I don't know if the book's still there, but I'd never. It's right there by Lloyd Cole. We're just guys. We don't wear makeup.
Neither do I anymore.
Oh, that's not entirely true. You do a little bit still occasionally, don't you?
Very occasionally. I mean, I'm on Channel 5 once in a while.
Yeah.
I was on when Messi came to town a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
How cool was that?
Maybe I'll do something around the draft.
Was Messi pretty cool?
It was cool. Yeah. It was. I probably didn't enjoy it as much as everybody else. We are spoiled, and we get to do cool things on a fairly regular basis. And you recognize a one-off like that in the regular season, so early in the regular season, like there's going to be another game, you have to get on to the next thing. And I don't think that night that many people were thinking that way. But I was. It's just like I got the schedule laid out of what I got to do and when I got to do it and all that. And so this is going to be cool, and then we're going to be on to the next thing.
But you were just, it was a game night for you.
But I've been spoiled. I mean, I fully admit it. And people just want to call me, well, you were spoiled, you know. You got to talk to MJ every day for 2 weeks during the NBA Finals 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, but MJ didn't want to talk to me.
But, there were limits, but that's part of what made it so special.
Right.
But Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley, who were hilarious. It's no surprise they're sitting on the same TV set. I mean, I have been spoiled. I've been around celebrities. And the first time I did it, I didn't make any sense. I was speaking gibberish. It was Tommy Lasorda in the Dodger dugout. It was straight out of Anchorman. I couldn't get a word out.
Did you find, so I was recruiting in Scottsdale. I was actually recruiting Matt Carlino back in the day. And went to the house, did our deal, and then I was alone. I went to my favorite restaurant called Houston's in Scottsdale. And I was sitting there eating, and in walk Danny Shays and his wife, former jazz man. And he's on a double date with Charles Barkley and his wife. So I'm sitting there, I'm wearing the brand because I was just at the house. So I've got the BYU shirt.
Sure, you're all geared up. It's a recruiting trip, yeah.
Right. So I'm sitting at the table, and they have this incredible spinach artichoke dip. And you eat it with tortilla chips.
Okay.
And it's to die for, man. I'm telling you, a little sour cream, a little salsa. So I'm just sitting there enjoying it. And they start to get seated. The hostess brings them down the aisle right where I'm sitting. And Danny walks by and nods his wife and Charles' wife, and Charles is last. And he sees my shirt, and he said, "Hey, you know Danny Ainge?" I said, "I happen to. Yes, I coach basketball at BYU." And so Charles sits down at my table, and we start chatting. And he's like, "Do you mind if I have some of your chips?" And so I guess my point is he was exactly what I expected Charles Barkley to be. Yeah. Or at least, like, it was authentic as to what he is on television. He was the same guy. Yeah. But that's not always the case, right?
Oh, that is absolutely not always the case.
Yeah. So it was kind of neat. Like, Charles was real.
I did find that to be the case with Charles Barkley. Now, it's always in a media setting. I'm not hanging out. You have a more private. I haven't really had that kind of interaction with him. I did see him one night. He was local media people were aware that he and the 96, the second Dream Team, they called it, which doesn't really work, but whatever.
Dream Team 2.
Yeah, they were here because they played an exhibition, because Stockton and Malone were on the team going to the 96 Olympics.
That's right.
Prepping, and they went to Green Street, which had karaoke. And so there are people there, and the media is aware he'd been there before. And so a bunch of media people, including me, but I mean like 15. I mean, it was a lot of people were there. And it was just basically staying across the room but gawking at Barkley and Pippen and whoever. And they had some friends there. It was 8 or 10 people. And they were totally quiet. If they hadn't been NBA legends, they would have been like everybody else up there. They were just sitting over there just talking, killing time and all that. And then Barkley got up and sang at the end of the night and cracked everybody up. He got up to sing, and he hadn't been up all night long. He was just sitting at the table. I know there's stories, and they're not great, about younger, less mature, but this is older, mature Barkley. And he's just a dude hanging out. Very normal, like you said. And he got up to sing, but he's hilarious. He gets up and he says, "I'm a free agent." He doesn't say I'm Charles Barkley. He knows everybody in the bar knows who he is, and everybody's staring at him, and the pool tables all know who he is. Yeah, he's like, I don't know. I'm a free agent. I don't know where I'm going to be playing next year. Reggie Miller, as he goes, but I know where Reggie's going to be. And this is when Reggie's the Pacers star, and they have this massive rivalry with the Knicks that has later been documented in a brilliant 30 for 30 by ESPN. I know where Reggie's going to be. And he just kind of waves a point like a showbiz legend at the woman run karaoke, like, you're on my team. Let's do it, right? And she hits the music, and it's bump, 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 bump. And then he croaks a version of New York, New York. I mean,
I love it.
I mean, his golf swing is better than his singing voice. So I'll just leave it at that, okay? But that's what karaoke is. You're not up there because you're Sinatra. You're just up there to have fun and make people laugh. And everybody was just busting up. It was hilarious.
You're spoiled, DJ.
I am. I totally agree. I don't have these brushes with greatness. PK gets in an elevator at some random hotel, and there's always some star there. I never have that. I didn't grow up with it. I didn't expect it, but I have had a bunch of those moments. And it's because we've had really good coaches like you here, Tim, and they've won, and they brought these people to town. And if Stockton and Malone aren't on that team, then they're not here playing that game in the middle of the summer, and that moment doesn't happen.
I had a cool one, not exactly that, but at the Final Four every year, it was like, that was one of the coolest things for me, is the end of every year, basically your coaching convention is at the Final Four. So regardless of whether you're going back there to play or not, you're going to the Final Four. Mm-hmm. So for 12 straight years, I go back. And one year we were having dinner as a staff at a steakhouse. And as we walked in and got our table, we were right adjacent to this big conference room. And so we're sitting there eating, and it was like they had invited a bunch of incredible players back. And it was in Indianapolis, and like literally walking in the room, like Bird walked in, Kareem, Magic, Rodman. So we were positioned perfect just to see him. We didn't bug him or anything. But they all just walked in and had this big gathering. So afterwards, we were kind of hanging around waiting for our car. And Rodman came out, and he was in full boa and everything. Like he had a top hat and boa, feathers on and the whole thing, big old boots with steel toes. And my wife is, she's pretty gutsy. So she walks up to Rodman and is like, "Can I get a picture?" And He kind of looks at her and is like, okay. And so I've got a picture of my wife and Rodman. He's wearing, he is all the way in his getup. But, it's just cool to run into people like that and see people like that. And, they were doing their thing. We were doing ours, but that was a cool night. Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Tim, we've gone a long time without talking about the draft, where this might go. We got to do that. I have a thought, and we talked to David Locke about this, and I'm curious if you think Victor Wembanyama factors into the Jazz draft plans, and I will explain why next. Stay with us.
AG and the coach, Tim LaComb. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
David James sitting in for Scott Garrard. Tim, the coach, is on location at Tim Dolly. And we got a little Pink Floyd because you were at Brit Floyd. How was that?
No. I actually, last night I was at John Bonham's son, Jason. So John Bonham was the original drummer for Led Zeppelin. And his son, Jason, has a touring group that basically plays their music as good as they did.
Now all this makes much more sense. I was a little confused, but I was just going with it.
So anyhow, no, it's all good. I'm telling you guys, I was just telling Brant
Good show.
and Benjamin, our guys here on site. Oh, I closed my eyes and it was like I was in London in 1971. Like, it was so cool. That is the one band. If I could see any band and like just snap my fingers in their prime, it would be Led Zeppelin. And so last night was awesome. They dress like them, they play like them, they sound like them. So it was cool. A great little. It was at the Union, which is a neat little room as well. So I had a blast.
The NBA draft is a little more than a month away right now, and talking with David Locke this morning, there is a thing in sports where sometimes a team has to build a team to beat another team. You know who's standing between you and a championship, and you got to tweak that roster so you match up with Club X, whoever it is. Number one, I guess, Tim, do you buy that? Number two, if you do, and if you're Austin Ainge, Danny Ainge, Jay-Z, Ryan Smith, Will Hardy, anybody else in the brain trust that's going to be in the room debating all these players right now, A, do you buy that theory? And B, if you do you look at the Spurs and think, we have to beat the Spurs and Wembayama? And Wembayama at any given moment seems to defend at least a third and maybe half of the court. He's just so big and he covers up so much ground so quickly. And if it's true, then you need big guys who can shoot the three and stretch the floor, so no matter who they put him on, he has to go all the way to the three-point line. And then you put that guy all the way in the sideline so he's as far away from everybody else as possible. And that makes me think that, A, we'll have a debate here going forward. The fan, and by we, I mean the fan base, media included, and maybe Jazz people as well. Markkanen's getting paid like he's the best player on the team, but is he really, should he be the second or third best player on the team? Is he really a superstar, or is he really a very elite role player? And with the Angels coming from Boston, I would say, well, Derek White's the elite role player there. I have so much respect for him, and I have zero illusion that guy can carry a team. But my gosh, you get him on the floor, and that dude makes winning plays at unpredictable times and unpredictable fashions. Might be a big shot, might be a great pass, might be grabbing a rebound, might be saving a ball that's going out of bounds, but White always seems to make a play, and then you go, oh, that was a huge play, and it was White again. So what is Markkanen going forward, and do they need to draft someone now who has the size and can spread the floor? Because if you don't spread the floor against Wembayama, you are doomed.
Well, so there's a lot there, but I'll unpack it. I think, number one, I think you're dead on. You have to be aware. If you're not aware of the surroundings and what you have to compete against to do what you want to do, that's not very smart. And so I think as the Jazz have put this thing together, and particularly I think the capper was Jaren Jackson Jr., because what Jaren does now is he moves Lowry to a wing position. And Lowry, to me, I said it from the very beginning, DJ, the great part about Lowry is during this phase, he could be anything from your best player to 1A to 2 to 3. Lowry's going to score no matter what. You know, the Jazz don't necessarily, they run action for him, but a lot of what Lowry gets is, you know, extra passes, kicks. He got way better this year at cutting and attacking the basket. And so I think as the Jazz are presently constituted, if you roll out a starting lineup next year, and this is all in theory, but as the Jazz sit right now and without this next pick, I mean, it's looking like Keontae, Ace, Lowry, Jaren, and Walker. I mean, that's a massive, massive team.
Yep.
And you saw, like, there is no one that can basically stop Wemby alone. And so the way you stop him is with length. You got to be in the gaps. He's got to have dig threats. You know, as he drives the ball, he's got to be wary of a long arm reaching in from an off-ball defender and tipping it away. And that's what length does for you. And so defensively, the Jazz are going to be markedly better just because they're longer. But then the emphasis to me is going to be on the defensive end. That's what Will has talked about. So with all that being said, you know, I don't know that you draft a player in this draft to necessarily totally address that, but it's in your thought process for sure. And, you know, the bottom line is Danny, Austin, Justin, Ryan, those guys, they just want to get the best possible player they can get. And, I have the belief that there isn't anybody in this draft that they need to feel like they got to move around for. I think they are in a perfect spot to get a very good player. And these 40 days now dictate, what player that'll be.
Is the goal, well, I guess the where this question goes next is Boozer has the three-point stats to suggest he might actually be the best three-point shooter out of the top 4 guys. Now, his elite athleticism is the reason he's been listed usually as third in mock drafts, right? He's not a guy, he's not a high flyer. He's just not. DeBonsa will take off and seemingly soar to the rim, and that's just not Boozer's game. There are 20 other things that guy can do, but that's just not one of them. However, do we overvalue that because it's easy to see and it's entertaining? And should we further devalue it because nobody's jumping over Wembanyama anyway, so what does it matter? And should that boost Boozer's stock in this draft?
Well, Boozer's like number 1 on some boards, I know.
But probably for this line of thinking, right? The people who are doing that are thinking the things I just said. That's the best case for Boozer.
I mean, that's the NBA, right? The NBA today is ball screen pop. If you have a 4-man that can space the floor, it's going to help all your other guys so much because they're actually going to have a little space to play, as opposed to when you don't. Teams can't camp in the lane in the NBA, but they can sit at the nail or the elbow or the block. They can sink off that guy and not really respect him, which just muddies everything else up. To Boozer's point, the measurement, looking at the measurements from the combines, Boozer's listed as a loser in that regard. He measured 6 and 8 and 2 1/4 barefoot, making him closer to like 6'9". He's got a 7'1" wingspan and a 9-foot standing reach. Were great, but the height number is a little lower than people thought it would be. He's a below the rim guy, but you hit on it. I think Boozer is the safest pick right now. Like if you want just a guy that's going to come in and play, no question.
Yep.
He's going to hit the ground running. He's going to hit the ground running and flip hit the ground running because he can handle it and he can shoot it a teeny bit. He can attack. And so he had some success early. Boozer's will be in spades compared to that, right? Boozer he'll look really, really comfortable in the spots he's in. Where he's going to struggle, though, perhaps is he's limited to perhaps guarding one position, and that's always a little bit of an iffy thing.
Yep.
So all sorts of things you have to consider outside of just being able to step out and shoot. So the due diligence part of this thing, it is so intense, and that's what this is all going to be. I've had plenty of conversations in the last couple of days with a lot of people in and around the league. And, I feel like everybody's kind of in that boat. I don't know that anybody's like, I know this is our bona fide number 1. And so this is going to be very, very interesting. Every single day there's going to be little nuggets coming out, and we're going to try to stay on top of it, get sound, and try to analyze this thing as well.
I think the worst case scenario for these guys, for Boozer, it's what you say about guarding one position, because then if you need to switch into pick and roll and on ball screens and that, well, he can't because he's going to be switching on somebody he can't guard, somebody who's too big for him, somebody who's too quick for him. So that's the thing when they assign someone in the room, don't let us get over our heels here. Devil's advocate, tear apart whatever we say. That's where they're going to go on him. But for the other players, well, can Caleb Wilson shoot the 3? Can A.J. DeBonsa shoot the 3? Because if DeBonsa ends up being a 42%, let's say he is one of those guys who really gets in the gym and gets that three-pointer really dialed in, and he ends up being a 41 or 42% three-point shooter. Well, look out. He's the number 1 pick. He's going to win championships because he does so many other things. That's his fatal flaw. But does he shoot 39% or 36%, or he has major confidence issues? He only shoots 33%. Now, as David Locke pointed out, well, you don't have to guard him when he's off the ball. You can go help, and the whole offense is going to get clunky. And Locke's point is that's what's happening with Paolo Banchero in Orlando.
Yeah, they just sink and sit.
Yeah, and the same thing with Caleb Wilson, maybe even probably more questions about him than DeBonsa's 3. He doesn't, is he going to be a 33, 36, 39, or 42% guy? And then with Peterson, it's availability. Well, what if he's a guy who's just perpetually hurt? A smaller version of Embiid. You love him when he's playing, and then Locke broke down his three-point numbers, and actually there's a little concern, as smooth as he is when he's scoring and he's rolling, his three-point numbers kind of above the break, the wing, high wing area kind of, not good at all. But again, there's a chance There's no way when you look at the history of the NBA that all three of these guys are going to become great three-point shooters. That's not going to happen. But one of them might, and you got to figure out which one. And don't take the one who has a confidence issue and drops all the way to 33, because there's a big difference between 33 and 37. You can live with 37, but it's not special. But 33 will mess you up in a heartbeat.
Well, you hit on something big there, and that is the fact that somebody is going to be willing to shoot them, too, if they're not very good.
Right.
Because we watched Ben Simmons come into the league, and he basically, that was just a part of the floor he didn't even operate from. You want to talk about teams not guarding a guy. It just makes it hard for everybody. And one other thing I want to touch on in your estimation, talking about Boozer's ability or inability to switch on the wing, and we'll see, what he can do. To me, his lateral looked pretty good in the combine. I watched some of that. So, time will tell, but that's one of the beautiful things about that lineup I threw up for the Jazz. You can, in effect, switch 1 through 4 there, and in emergency cases, Walker can guard a guard for a bit. He's quick enough to use his length vertically to kind of thwart a shot, but also give himself a little bit of space to be prepared for a drive left or a drive right. And he can do that for a counter, too. So that's one thing I love about it, too, is you have real versatility, not only on the offensive end with what the Jazz are putting together, and this piece they add will only add to that, but that's a real positive sign, because the Jazz have not really been able to switch a whole lot, exclusively. And you want to have that in your bag sometimes. You want to be able to throw a wrinkle in a game. And so that will give Will the ability to do just that.
We could go on another hour on this. I have so many things I want to say to you right now.
This was like how we were sitting watching Jazz games, right?
It was.
It was so fun this year. I loved it.
So the playoffs, I assume that San Antonio knocks out Minnesota. And I feel like Cleveland and Detroit's a coin flip. Cleveland had 2 guys come off the bench and go a combined 8 of 13 from 3. If Cleveland gets that again, they're going to win the game and they're going to win the series. But you certainly can't count on that. Detroit could easily force a Game 7 and then at home win a Game 7. James Harden hasn't been good in Game 7s. Donovan Mitchell has never been to a conference final. I think we're seeing now with Minnesota and Cleveland, this is why to trade them. 2 guys who were paid like dominant guys on championship teams, but who are both really gifted at one end of the floor, but a liability at the other end of the floor.
The Jazz were completely landlocked salary-wise too.
Right.
I mean, they had basically those 2 guys. I read the roster the other day, and it's amazing from 2019 that roster. And moving those guys and acquiring the picks and what is actually the roster today, it's staggering, because there's talent, so much more talent up and down the roster. And the end of last year, when everybody's like, I hate watching the Jazz, they're just tanking, and all this development was going on. You saw Sensabaugh get 40 in a game. You saw Flip go crazy and start getting like 15, 16 rebounds a game. So those spots are ready to fire too. And you saw it the other night, your guy from Santa Barbara, Mitchell, AJ Mitchell in the Oklahoma City series, he kind of ended that thing for him. And I fully believe Sensabaugh could do just that, in a playoff series, because the last couple of years that dude has worked, been knocked around, failed, and then had some success. And he's tasted it. He knows what it feels like. These guys will be ahead of the game that way, because this is, in effect, a roster that was all together last year. You add this one piece, man, and training camp's going to be really competitive.
David James filling in for Scotty G. The coach, Tim LaComb, is at Tim Dolly Mazda, 10785 South Auto Mall Drive in Sandy. Come on down. They got some deals. They got some stuff cooking.
Yeah, absolutely. Always got stuff cooking. Jake, however, is at his favorite place on earth today. He's at Disney.
Oh, okay.
He's a big Disney guy. Okay. So I'm happy he's there, and we're going to hold down the fort. But the bottom line, DJ, is you need to come check out these Mazdas. Mazda has done such a great job with the look, the feel, the tech that's in these cars, and they have got great deals. A variety of cars that have 0% interest. Jake has thrown out the free gas for a year. We'll say that while he's gone, because I know he'll honor that. But come down and drive these cars. It is just made by J.D. Power the safest new car that you can buy. So there's a lot of reasons price-wise to get a Mazda, a lot of reasons for style, but also a lot of reasons for practicality. So we're here today. Would love to see you. you can come down to Tim Daly Mazda here in Southtown.
All right, DJ filling in for Scotty G. The coach, Tim LaComb, coming up next. Lloyd's really looking forward to this. I don't want to get into it. We'll just let Lloyd have his fun. That's next. Stay with us.
Insurance isn't one size fits all, and shopping for it shouldn't feel like squeezing into something that just doesn't fit. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they show you options that fit your budget. Enough hunting for discounts, trying to calculate rates, and tinkering with coverages. Maybe you're picking out your very first policy, or maybe you're just looking for something that works better for you and your family. Either way, they make it simple to see your options. No guesswork, no surprises. Ready to see how easy and fun shopping for car insurance can be? Visit Progressive.com and give the Name Your Price tool a try. Take the stress out of shopping and find coverage that fits your life on your terms. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ filling in for Scotty G.
Valhalla, I am coming home.
Tim LaComb. You know, I went to Valhalla High School in El Cajon,
Did
California. I did. We're the Valhalla Norsemen. Yeah.
That's what he said right there.
I know.
That was the first song.
Oh, really?
Just melt your face right out of the gate.
PGA Championship underway. Got a lot of guys sharing the lead at 3 under. Scheffler backed up with some bogeys. Now he's made some birdies, so he's 2 under. He's 1 shot off the lead after having to share the first round lead. There are some quotes from Garrett Hugo, who was late to his tee time, and Lloyd did not like the quotes and is using his power as producer and program director. That we're going to talk about this and about personal responsibility in this segment. First, let's hear the quotes so you can hear them for yourself with tone and everything. Here you go.
I was obviously, so the rule is that if you're 1 second late, you're late. I was obviously there on time but late. That's a 2-shot penalty. You have 5 minutes then until you're DQ'd. So yeah, I guess I could have taken five minutes longer, or just under that. But obviously it's unfortunate. I usually cut it fine. It was cold this morning. I was trying to stay as warm as possible coming from the range. I think it shows a lot of mental strength, the way I just kept fighting, and it wasn't going to affect my swing or my putting. So it is what it is. I mean, my caddy was on the tee box. I had my putt in my hand. Obviously I didn't have my watch on me. I didn't have my phone with me. I'm already in the clouds a little bit as it is, so I don't know what else to do. I always cut it pretty fine. There's a lot of us who do. We don't want to get to the tee box 10 minutes early and be cold. We have to hit it far and straight. It's our job to do that. I don't really think it's my job to be 10 minutes early. Obviously cut it too fine. I thought I still had a few minutes. I didn't have my watch or my phone on me, and my caddy was dropping off my TrackMan, so went to the putting green, hit 1 putt, and then heard my name and ran down. I mean, I think that's always been a big strength of mine is, fighting. I always stay in the fight. Might not always be pretty, but I felt like my swing and putting's been in a good spot this week. I haven't had the best year so far. So I just try to make good swings, stay in control of what I can control. Like, there's nothing I can do about being late. I'm already late.
Well, I mean, there's something you could do earlier. You could walk down the hill earlier, but
Is that not the ultimate Gen Z quote right there? That's a Gen Z golfer right there.
I'm not here to bag on a whole generation.
I'm going to do it. I'll do it for you, DJ.
I'll let you do that. Okay, but so Kyle Whittingham famously is super punctual to the point that his 11 a.m. press conference started at 58 or 59. Well, there's no use complaining about it once you know that when Kyle says 11 a.m., he means 10:58. Won't be there 10:57. And I get the whole don't be there 10 minutes early. I would show up sometimes because I'm coming for radio. I didn't have anywhere else to go or do. Sometimes I'd show up at 10:45 and I'd be first. And they're like, why are you first? I'm like, because I'm coming for radio. I got nothing else to do. Where am I going to go in 15 minutes, right? So you get there first. And other people come in at 10:50 or 10:55. It's like, once you know what the rules are, my mother used to get mad at her mother-in-law, my grandmother, because if there was some family dinner and it would show up at 4, Mom was always doing last things like, why do they always have to be there right at 4? Because they want to hang out with the grandkids. That's it. So they're going to be there at 4. If you want them there at 4:30, tell them 4:30. Grandma is not showing up. Grandpa didn't really have anything to do with it. It was my grandmother. Grandmother was not showing up at 10 after 4 if she got to play with the grandkids at 4. Boom.
Tim, I don't know where you...
My mom once like, is she right around the corner? Do they just sit there and wait? And I'm like, I don't think so, but I'm not ruling it out. I'm like 8. I'm onto it. I figured it out. Grandma's going to be there on time.
Tim, I don't know where you stand on this, but you know what? It is actually your job to be on time. It's literally your job to be on time.
What
are we talking about?
Let me just flip this, right? Like, so radio show. If I'm not sitting in this chair at 10 o'clock, then I miss the open. And if I miss the open, that's probably not a good thing. So what I try to do is get here 30 minutes early. See, because especially places I haven't been, I want to make sure I can get there.
Right.
And I think I've always kind of been that way. I don't know. I have a issue with people that are always late. I think I've been late one time in my life.
I've been late more than one time in a life. But if you find out, and I think this is most people, if you find out someone doesn't respect your time, it means they don't respect you.
Correct.
And then that's offensive. Now, whether you give somebody grace 1 time or 3 times or 5 times, it's not going to be 100 times. So, and then the other thing is, how much grace do you give when you're late? If I'm doing a radio show with a partner and they're not there and I keep talking and then they show up because they're a little late for whatever reason and I don't make a deal out of it, and people notice, they notice, but if they don't, they don't. And people turn on the radio at all times, just keep going. Then maybe I get a little more grace from my partner. And that's how it works.
I can't imagine Lloyd would let that go on too long. Right,
no,
Lloyd?
No. And if it happened, and PK and I wouldn't either. I mean, if it happened 5 days in a row that you missed the open to the show, that would not be okay.
Yeah, now
at
we have
the same time,
talk.
we've all driven in where one of us has a ton of snow on the commute and the other one doesn't. It's the weirdest thing about our weather here. And we've even tried to estimate for it. And sometimes we've shown up at like 6:30 in the morning because we allowed an hour to get in, and then we flew right in 15 minutes. You just never know.
That's when you use the hammocks.
PK's not above putting a blanket in the car, driving in order to beat the snow. Because we both grew up in the Sun Belt, we are both freaked out by driving in the snow.
No, absolutely.
And so PK will pull in, and he's just like, I just had a blanket in there or a pillow in the car or whatever, and I just slept for another 30 minutes. So I woke up at 4 a.m. and I saw the snow falling, and I'm not doing it. I don't like it. And we both had hair, and I got wrecked one day in the snow on the way in. I didn't even make the show.
But you guys are used to it now because you guys have been here.
We've been doing it for a long time. Yeah.
But Higo, going back to this kid, and he is a kid.
By the way, I'll just say this: take your medicine. You were wrong. You're late.
Yep.
Deal with it.
It is your job to be there 10 minutes early, if that's what it takes.
The key is refereeing. The key is a refereeing, in this case, the rules maker acting as the referee. If the rule is you're 1 second late, you're late, then the penalty has to be applied, and they can't wiggle. And these guys play golf for 4 days, and it's 270 or 80 shots, depending on the tournament, and it's separated by 1 shot. A 2-shot penalty is a big deal. It is a huge deal. So they've got to apply it, and it sounds like they applied it the way they always applied it. So
He was even today, so he's 1 under for the tournament.
So he could be 3 under.
He's already through round 2.
Yeah.
And so he's sitting okay. But man, if he would have just been on time, he'd be 3 under.
Lloyd wants him to lose by 1 or 2 shots. That's what Lloyd wants.
But can I share a really
chaos?
Quick,
I want chaos.
This is really quick, but I want to share this quick story.
Okay.
Because it's akin to this. It's sports related, and it's being late and the repercussions. So I was working at the University of Utah as a manager for Rick Majerus.
Oh, boy.
We were in Fort Collins, Colorado, and we just had won the night before in Moby Gym. Mm-hmm. And and this is well before cell phones. So this is the old call the front desk, get a wake-up call time. Well, for whatever reason, I don't get my wake-up call. And finally, I get a call, and it is from Tommy Connor at the front desk saying, "Where are you? Everybody's on the bus, and the 2 managers are asleep in the room." That was bad, very bad. Oof. So we scrambled, got our stuff together. I didn't even put my contacts in. I couldn't see. We run out there, jump on the bus. Everybody's giving us the stink eye. Thank goodness Coach Majerus never went on the bus, so we didn't have to feel his wrath. So we get to the airport. Everything's fine. We get on the plane. We're flying home, and my cohort walks up to me, Mikey Curtis, and he said, "You have Majerus' sweater?" And this is back before the Reebok sweater. He used to wear this. He wore these sweaters. There was an olive-colored sweater, and he would wear like a shirt underneath it, collared shirt. And when he would win in a sweater, he'd like to wear it again the next night, so we'd have to get it dry cleaned. So he comes up, he said, "Hey, have you seen Majerus' sweater?" And I said, "No, I didn't grab it." He's like, "I didn't either." So we got to sit that whole flight. We get to a payphone at the airport. and we land. And I call the hotel. Hey, is there a sweater in there? And they went and said, there's a very big sweater. I said, yeah, that's the one. I need you to FedEx that to me today, right now.
Did they?
Yeah, they FedExed that thing to me, DJ, and we got it. I got it to our dry cleaner the day of the game, and after shoot around, I went and picked it up, and I had it hanging in his locker for him, and he had no idea.
No, he never knew. Nice.
But that story is in his book. Gene Wojciechowski wrote a book, and he interviewed, and so that actual story is in there. But that was one of the more frightened I'd ever been for being late.
John Wilner, San Jose Mercury News, joins us next. College sports is changing fast. He's trying to keep up with it. Stay with us.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Just top.